the Eggman. That's what I am. How are you, folks? It's great to see you tonight. It is I, Dr. Gerald Robotnik, the most lore important character in all of Sonic, and I am thrilled, just thrilled, to share with you the Sonic timeline. In other words, a big Sonic lore dump. Sonic the Hedgehog. We're talking 1991, 34 years ago, almost 35. And let me tell you, there is no way when Sega made Sonic the Hedgehog that they would have ever predicted 34 years later, you know, Shadow the Hedgehog and eldritch, giant demonic beasts, right? Pretty stark difference between these two images, the first and the last in the entire series. There is a lot of lore. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, Sonic's a game for kids, it's a target demographic, like, how serious could the stories be? Well, let me tell you, there are countries, there are gods, there are past, present, future, there's like a million characters. And in fact, if I had to summarize why I love Sonic, and I'm sure why you love Sonic, in one thought, it's the best crew. Am I right? Can we hear some noise for the characters of Sonic the Hedgehog? Every personality you could think of, every animal you could think of is all there. They're the best. They grow and change, some more than others, right? In fact, actually, I loved earlier today, the new voice actor for Knuckles, newer, right, 2019, was talking about how, for the first time ever, in his opinion, Sonic Frontiers was kind of a more of a mature shift for Knuckles, which I thought was really cool, because I think of most of these characters as pretty static, right? Sonic, more or less the same person he was, you know, back in 1991, but it's fun to think that, like, characters do change, right? Because there are so many of them, and they're all amazing. So, again, there is a timeline, okay? First of all, just 3 months ago, Sega of Japan dropped an official timeline, which is crazy. Like crazy, right? Because, again, this is a series that's got some fun stories in it, but it's not necessarily Final Fantasy, you know, trying to continue something crazy. Like, it's just Sonic. So I love that they finally did it again just 3 months ago. It's like they knew I was doing this panel. And if you take a look on the right-hand side, you might be blown away that we're talking about tens of thousands of years ago, even 50 years ago, even 10 years ago, right? All of these different parts have a spot in the Sonic canon, which is crazy. Canon, by the way, I'm sure all of us know it, that refers to official, like the official timeline, right? Because Sonic does have, you know, Sonic X, the anime, Archie Sonic, you know, Sonic Underground. And, like, those are great. We can make some noise for, like, all that stuff. That's great. But it's not canon, okay? We're talking about canon stuff today, which is great. And if you're wondering to yourself, what is canon? Well, everything is canon. Now, it is a bit of a joke taken out of context. This tweet was made, you know, satirically, but it's, like, kind of not that wrong, okay? You would be blown away what is canon. In fact, you would probably be more surprised what's not canon. But let's just go over a few of the things that are canon, just so that we're all on the same page. IDW Comics, make some noise. If you've been reading IDW, maybe you've been watching Adrenaline Dubs. Fantastic. A lot of fan dubs in general, but Adrenaline Dubs in particular, my word. Fantastic work. IDW is canon, all right? It takes place after Sonic Frontiers. I'm sorry, it takes place after Sonic Forces, before Sonic Frontiers. And it's great. Full of a lot of great stories. Sonic Prime is canon. Yeah, that's more noise than I was expecting, but I'll take it. That's great. Sonic Prime is canon, and you know, Shadow loving Latinas. It's a meme, but you would be surprised how often it gets referenced in Twitter takeovers or even Sonic 3 the movie. Shadow watching the telenovela with the beautiful Latina women. I love it, right? I mean, Shadow just loves Latinas. What can you do, right? Who doesn't? Speaking of Shadow, let's do a little quick trivia. Again, it's late at night, and I know we got some passionate fans in here. And it's a bit of a lowball question, but like, not necessarily the most obvious. So I'll be really curious to see who can answer this. Raise your hand, and be really loud, because I can't hear that well. I'm an old man. What is the name of Shadow the Hedgehog's bike? Anyone know this? Yes. That is insane that you got that so quickly. Dr. Eggman right there. Can we make some noise? That's my grandson. That's my grandson. Amazing! That was so quick. Yes, Dark Rider is the name of Shadow's bike. Fun fact, this was a G.U.N, a gun issue motorcycle that he just took and customized himself in the amazing game Shadow the Hedgehog 2005. We all love it. I've seen some amazing Shadow cosplays. Any Shadow cosplayers in here? Can you stand up and make some noise? Amazing. I love it. Yes. 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 Last year was the year of Shadow, but like, let's be real, it's always the year of Shadow. Am I right? Shadow, amazing character, one of my all-time favorites. Now, we were talking about things that are canon, and I know I brought this up a little bit earlier. Twitter, not so canon, right? Twitter takeovers, they're kind of in character, you know, but they're mostly silly. I wouldn't necessarily take Twitter questions and answers as like word of God canon. For example, Shadow in a Twitter takeover says that he eats coffee beans. He doesn't brew coffee, he just eats them like they're chocolate. That's a little crazy. That's a little not canon, but it's fun to think about. And of course, fan art, you know, you have to have it. Shadow was a barista, by the way, in the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. Great game. I saw one cosplayer do it. I thought that was just amazing, just incredible. So, what's that? He wasn't a barista? Oh, wow. But he had like the green gown. I mean, he's eating coffee beans. What can you do? But still, I feel it. And you know what? If I ever said anything wrong, you should shout it out at me because this is a Sonic lore dump and we need to have accurate Sonic lore. So again, just like real world, it actually parallels the real world perfectly. Twitter bad, YouTube good. YouTube is canon, right? Just like the real world, right? We're all about positivity. Sonic is a very, very friendly and fun, super inclusive community. It ain't Twitter. Okay. So, speaking of YouTube, who here saw the Shadow Dark Origins YouTube? Yeah, right? Make noise. It was great. It was great. It was so freaking good. And take a look at this image for a second. That is the moon that got destroyed in SA2B, Sonic Adventure 2, finally making an appearance like in its destroyed form. I love this, right? Like, this is another great example of YouTube. And frankly, this is a great example of the new direction of the lore team, which I love. Anyone here love Ian Flynn? Does great work, great writer, you know, really trying his best to keep the lore consistent. And it's hard. Remember, Sonic is 34 years old, right? This is a really long franchise with many directors, many forms of media. So trying to make sense of it can be a little bit difficult, but shout out to him and that team. And I loved seeing that in YouTube. That was one of my favorite moments of the Dark Origins. Tails Tube is great. Anyone here been watching Tails Tube? He's like a little VTuber. Tails, you know, different characters pop in. And surprisingly, a great source of lore accurate information. It's actually crazy. Again, I cannot believe the era we're in. We're no longer in the slapsticky, baldy McNose hair era. You know, we're taking it just a little bit more seriously, which I love, you know? I love it both. It's obviously fun to have jokes too, but like, man, I'm so thrilled with the direction of our world. So, in the Tails Tube, we've confirmed a few things, which is really interesting. So the first thing is this. Many people, because it was kind of hazy and ambiguous and not so clear, many people assumed for the longest time that the classic games on the Genesis with the old school style was a different timeline, a different continuity than the newer stuff. And the same is true of humans too, right? Like, humans just show up. I mean, I guess Eggman has always been a thing. Robotnik's always been a thing. But otherwise, like, new humans just showing up in Sonic Adventure 1, you know, that was like a pretty new thing. And they call the planet Earth as opposed to Mobius, right? So it's like, oh, like, what's the deal there? So Tails Tube has confirmed, like, it's just all one world, okay? Humans live in big cities and countries. Animals live on islands. I guess we're just always hanging on islands, right? Like, that's how it is. Now, that character who's circled right there, Dr. Tori. Who here knows Dr. Tori? It's pretty recent. Well, I mean, she's been hinted at for quite some time, but her official canon appearance was, like, again, just a couple months ago. And I've got a lot to say about her. I've got a lot of speculation. She might even be related to me, Dr. Gerald Robotnik. I don't know. But I've got some thoughts about that. But again, Tails Tube, again, YouTube, crazy. What a world we live in. So, quick question for you. We all know the 7 Chaos Emeralds and the Master Emerald. They're like in pretty much every game. They're always important. How many just gems and emeralds, just in general, are there in the canon Sonic? And it's a tough question. I might ask a few people, and I've got an answer for you, but sure, why not? It is more than 15. More than 15. More than 19. Now, to be fair, this is not just emeralds, right? Like, you know, gems in general, like things, gems of power, mystical orbs, yes. 72, less than that, but like, yeah. More than 23. How much? More than that. Let me just show you. Let's count them together, right? Because again, this is the lore panel. Okay, the Phantom Ruby, that's the first one right here. Okay, Phantom Ruby, easy to forget. Easy to forget, you know, Sonic Forces, Sonic Mania. By the way, Phantom Ruby is kind of crazy. The Master Emerald has no power over this thing. This random gem that's always existed, apparently. You can make, you know, clones of people. You can, like, make pocket dimensions. It's a pretty wild thing. Paradox Prism. Remember, Sonic Prime is canon, right? You know, easy to forget. The Time Stones from Sonic CD. That's another 7 right there. Pretty crazy. I mean, I guess they're stones, you know, but they're gems, clearly. Like, look at that. Those are gems. We've got the Soul Emeralds from Blaze's Dimension. And actually, it gets even crazier than that because there's also the Jeweled Scepter from exactly one Sonic mainline game, Sonic Rush Adventure. And let's just take a peek at that for a second, okay? I'm going to say that there's 5 gems on that. I'm just counting the top half. The bottom half is kind of depicted differently in different forms. So let's just say there's 5 extra emeralds right there. Super Emeralds. Now, I want you to know, they are canon. They're never going to be referenced ever again. They're allegedly in a different dimension. But they are canon, all right? So 7 Super Emeralds is crazy. And then the Warp Topaz, that's IDW comic only, okay? So that's, again, we're really digging here. But that's yet another gem, which is really fun. And the Black Onyx from Sonic Superstars, sealed away the Black Dragon. It makes some noise if you played Sonic Superstars. That's the appropriate amount of noise, yes. What's that? No, Superstars is canon. Yeah, I'm sorry. That was the banner for Twitter. Yeah, but good, valid question. I appreciate that. The Precious Stone. This is the biggest. This is from Sonic. Make some noise if you played Sonic Shuffle. Crazy. It's crazy. But that is a thing from Imaginary World. Yet another gem. So by my count, there's 39 canon gems in the Sonic universe. Okay, a crazy number. And I'm gonna take this off because this is just like totally bothering me. I'm no longer the Eggman. But I am. You found me, faker. Yeah, no, it's great. I love that. But if you want to be silly, we can dig even deeper here. Okay, we can dig even deeper. The Black Arm alien race powers their spaceships through temple jewels. There's an uncountable amount of them, so I don't think it's fair to count them. But that is a gem of power that does power things. Crazy. We've got ability gems from Sonic 06. We're really scraping here, folks. We're really scraping. Again, I'm not counting these. I'm just showing you could get even crazier because Sonic 06, like, it happened, but it also kind of didn't happen, right? So, like, we're not going to worry about that. Did someone say best game for Sonic 06? Did I hear that? Okay, here's what I'll concede. Best Shadow. Can I get some noise? Best Shadow in Sonic 06, right? Not even close. Best Shadow. Maybe Sonic Shadow Generations, but still. Very good stuff. But yeah, Sonic 06, it happened, but it kind of didn't happen. Okay. And then this is the craziest. In Sonic Spinball on the Sega Genesis, there are 16 emeralds, not even 14. They were just 16. They're all blue. I don't know what to tell you. As far as I'm concerned, Sonic Spinball is not canon. That's just absolutely bonkers. As far as I'm concerned, that cannot possibly be the case. But again, we could get even crazier if we think 39 is a silly low number. If we want more gems in our world, we can think about that for a second. So we do need to talk about the Chaos Emeralds, though. Okay, if we're talking about, you know, just different powerful gems, I mean, these are really the Deus Ex Machina, right? I mean, my grandson over there. Incredible. Can you come up here for a second? Can you come up and can we just touch emeralds? Can we touch emeralds, Dr. Eggman? Come up here really quick, please. Just really quick. Because I'm going to tell you right now, they're kind of magnetic. You have an emerald too? Do we have 7 in the audience? Yeah, we might destroy Momocon if we're not careful. That's crazy! That's crazy! Oh! Is that the Master Emerald? It's so big. Okay, okay, and a little emerald. Okay, really quick, photo moment, please. That's incredible. I love it. Right, and remember, there's 39 gems, so this is not even that crazy, right? This. These could be time stones. You know, that's crazy. Love it. Thank you so much, you guys. Big round of applause for everyone who came here prepared. Oh, my grandson. Oh. This is the property of the Eggman Empire, and this is Dr. Gerald Robotnik's journal. My man, thank you. Come here, grandson. Thank you. I love that. This, you want to talk about lore, okay? This thing is chock full of lore in the best way possible. We absolutely love the Dr. Gerald Robotnik journal. It is absolutely full of lore. Now, I'm sorry, hold up. Let's go back. I got distracted by the incredible feat that we pulled off with Chaos Emeralds. So Chaos Emeralds, they're in every game, more or less. We might assume that they're named after Chaos, the god of destruction in Sonic Adventure 1. Not confirmed, but I think that's a pretty fair assumption. There's space and time, okay? We think of space a lot because obviously, you know, Shadow the Hedgehog, warping, and we think of time stopping too. But think about Sonic 06, where they just like two emeralds touch and you just warp to the future, 200 years, 10 years in the past. Like, it's crazy, right? Magnetism, as we saw earlier with that great photo moment, they just attract each other. There's something about the pull of the Chaos Emeralds that's mystical and unable to be described. And there's both positivity and negativity. We see that in a lot of games. Adventure 1 is probably like the first one that comes to mind. Chaos, the god of destruction, uses the negative power of the 7 emeralds, turns into this crazy big beast. But then Sonic can still tap into the positive side of that too. So there's something about, you know, your intention and all of that good stuff that is a part of the Chaos Emeralds. Now, what's really crazy about the Chaos Emeralds? They're not of the Earth. They are alien in origin. That was revealed to us in Sonic Frontiers. So these mainstays, frankly, they've been around since Sonic 1 in 1991, not of earthly origin. However, the Master Emerald is indeed of this Earth. And there's a really interesting connection there because the Master Emerald is even more magnetic when it comes to Chaos Emeralds. There is this quality to them of neutralizing the powers. They can even empower it, right? We see that with the Super Emeralds too, so they can make it stronger. But there is a really interesting component there. In fact, the ancients, when they came here on their spaceship, were drawn to by the Master Emerald because they were using Chaos Emeralds to power their spaceship. Frankly, this right here, I said it was a Chaos Emerald. This could be the Master Emerald because it can just shrink. Never. Beautiful. It can just shrink. And now, granted, we've only really seen this with Knuckles. So my headcanon is that this is like an echidna power. There's some sort of kinship with the Guardian, the Master Emerald, and the Master Emerald itself. That it just, again, crazy. And just stop and think for a second. It's been shattered many a time. It's kind of crazy that you can just glue it back together, right? Like, with no issues whatsoever. The Master Emerald is really an incredible gem, and it's worth talking about specifically because it's the Master Emerald, right? Chaos and Tikal lived in the Master Emerald for quite some time. It's unclear if they're still in it. I don't think they are. We haven't really seen them since Sonic Adventure 1. It's kind of, oh, yeah. Oh, okay, cool. No, there's not her herself, but like the orb from Sonic Adventure 1 where she's, okay, that's cool. So like a little, maybe a fragment might still exist. Because at the end of Sonic Adventure 1, they kind of like float off into heaven. So again, it's a little ambiguous, but I like that she's still got some sort of presence. Yes, my man right there. If you want to come up and speak louder, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm so sorry, I can't hear a word you're saying.
So it is unclear where Chaos and Tikal really stay, but they do appear sometimes. It'll when they do appear, they tend to appear near the Master Emerald. It seems that while they're not really bound to it, they tend to see that sort of area as their home because in Sonic Battle, Chaos reemerges as and you're able to.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's true. Chaos is in that's a really good point in Sonic Battle, which has a lot of random GBA game has a lot of lore. Yes, you. I love that question. Love that cosplay. Movies are not canon. They're their own universe. In fact, there's some really interesting stuff there, like Longclaw, the owl. Like I don't know where that came from, but like cool. I'll take a Sonic origin story. We don't have any origin story for Sonic, unless you're reading Archie comics, which again is like its own thing. So to answer your question again, no. So it's possible Knuckles has that power in the main timeline, but not confirmed. Yeah, it is a little different. But great question. Okay. If we're talking shipping, okay, it's late. It's late at night, and we're not going to talk that much about shipping, okay? Because let me tell you, we could spend all night. This could be an 18 plus stream really, really quickly. But I would like to say, we know Shadow loves Latinos. Takal is Mesoamerican in origin, Latina. And I don't know. There's something about these two kind of like immortal beings, more or less, right? Think about that for a second. Shadow is immortal. Did you know that? Shadow's an immortal. And frankly, Takal is more or less immortal. I don't know. I just think they're really cute. That's all I wanted to say. And that's definitive, by the way. There's no Shad Amy. There's nothing else. It's just that in my head. Again, I touched upon this earlier. There's one timeline. There's exactly one timeline. There's no alternate realities. It's just one timeline. It is a little weird, though, right? If you stop to think about it, right? Like, if the past was cute and chibi, does that mean Shadow 50 years ago was cute and chibi? You know, it's a weird thing. I think it's kind of like the end, which we'll talk about in a second, which has different interpretations based on who you are. Yes, my friend. Yeah, crazy. They took that's an actual retcon, which is again rare in Sonic for them to just blatantly do that. Yes. Well, and Sonic Forces in particular is a really weird game. Make some noise. Sonic Forces, make some noise. Again, more than I was thinking. Yeah, Oh, amazing! Thank you so much. Love that. Oh my gosh, can we make some noise for the Momocon staff? That's incredible. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So the question was, doesn't Sega randomly choose things to make things canon or not canon? Yeah. But to be fair, I would argue that mostly everything is canon. I would argue that again, Twitter takeover is not so canon, but like just about everything is canon more or less. So you know, just to give him a little pat on the back. Again, funny to think about a cute chibi Shadow in the past though. It's a weird thing. And actually, touching upon it one more time, Sonic Forces, kind of a weird game. The Phantom Ruby, it's seen as this brand new gem for a lot of the characters, but like they totally encountered it in Sonic Mania, which is in the past. So like, again, kind of weird. I don't. Ian Flynn was not a part of that, clearly, right? So there was no lore consistency, but that's okay. We do the best we can. One world, as I talked about, it's just Earth. There's no Mobius. I'm sad to say, you know, but read Archie if you haven't. Archie's actually like kind of hype at a certain point. There's human countries. Okay, who does anyone here think they can name every single country to the flag that's on it? It's pretty tough. Let's give the man over there in the slick suit over there. Can you match him? Let's go left.
Let's see if I can.
Let's go top left. You know what I mean? Like
Okay,
left,
gotcha.
then left.
So Apatos, Missouri, Spagonia, Alaska, Chenan, Shahara, some gosh. I forgot it. Adabat, Empire City, and Eggman Land. Shamar.
Well done. Yeah, there are countries. It's a whole thing. Now, I love Sonic Unleashed. Make some noise for Sonic Unleashed. Can we make some noise? I'm old enough to remember when people dunked on that game like it was the dumbest, lamest thing ever. I was always a lover. Those day levels are insane. The night levels mix it up. I love it. You know, endless possibilities. A great game. Yes. What's that? Yeah. Oh, how interesting. Yeah. Well, and fans have done a really great job with the fan Sonic 06, which happened again a couple months ago. 3 months ago was a great time to be a Sonic fan. It's still a great time to be a Sonic fan. The United Federation. I would argue that this is probably better than Empire City. We don't see it as much nowadays. We did see it in the Sonic or the Shadow Dark Origins. But it is the home of G.U.N, the military, the Guardian Unit of Nations. For what it's worth, Eggman on YouTube has talked about how we dismantled G.U.N when he took over the world on Sonic Forces. But then, like, G.U.N is kind of important again in Shadow, which did take place in the past. But I don't think we're done with G.U.N. And I hope we're not done with G.U.N because, frankly, I mean, they're not necessarily villains, but let's be real. It's pretty much just the Eggman show when it comes to villains, more or less. So it is always nice to get, like, different antagonistic forces, even if they're not necessarily bad guys. That's just my opinion. Shadow does work for G.U.N in 06, which I love, and then they just, like, poofed it out of existence. Very unfortunate. Okay, gang. Can we... It all starts with this. A jewel containing the ultimate power. Great job, everybody. That's it. But also, just kidding, it all starts with the ancients. So, talking about prehistory, millennia ago, a long, long time ago, the ancients are the start of the timeline. And they are pretty funky. They are the descendants, or sorry, the ancestors of Chaos Zero, which we see in Sonic Adventure, Chaos in general, not just Chaos Zero. Alien in origin, flew here on their Chaos Emerald spaceships. Very advanced civilization, okay? We're talking about cyberspace. We're talking about the ability to seal the embodiment of death itself. Like, that's a crazy thing. They're very, very powerful. And in fact, they are related to Chow. Fun little fact for you guys. Make some noise if you miss Chow Garden. That is an appropriate amount of noise. Maybe a little more. Chow Garden, everybody. My word. They know. Sega knows. They know. They know. But it's kind of funny. Their spirits are in the Coco, and then just their bodies kind of like demorphed over the years. You think of creatures evolving over time. They kind of devolved, and Eggman himself speculates it's due to radiation, which I would wager probably the Chaos Emeralds or the Master Emerald. Who could say? But they do devolve over time until eventually it's just chaos. And just one chaos is considered the god of destruction. We've seen what he can do with 7 Chaos Emeralds. So yeah, ancients, pretty powerful stuff. Is chaos actually a god? I don't know. But did you know that there was a god of these gods? Okay. Again, all we know is the symbol. I guarantee you they will play a role in the future. So just remember this, bookmark this in your mind. You know, MomoCon 2025. That will be important. Okay. The end. I brought it up a few times. Yes. Hold on. Hold your thought for just a second.
This is kind of like a random question because I know you said the movies weren't canon, but I was thinking about Sonic Prime when they were like, when Sonic like went to the future or something with where it was like Rogue and they were all like part of like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that like Eggman City where the Council of Eggman are running everything.
Is that canon or not?
Well, okay. I love that you're bringing this up. Sonic Prime, I don't think should be canon. I don't know why it is. It's funky for reasons like that. My best interpretation is that it's a possible future and that the future is changeable. We see that with Silver at times, right? So I don't think timelines in Sonic are necessarily like super rigid. And obviously the Paradox Prism had a lot of like crazy shenanigans too, but really great point. Yeah, it's funky stuff. The future is more or less like a barren, ashen, fiery wasteland if we have Sonic 06 to think about. So yeah, it's some scary stuff for sure. But great question. Okay, let's see. Oh, can I get the slide? I lost my train of thought. That was such a great question. But I will say, the ancients in general, extremely powerful. You'll love to see them. And yeah, the second. So I should be very clear as well. And actually, hold up, we're talking about God still. The end. The end is crazy. Again, this is more or less the embodiment of death itself. It's just a malevolent force that just consumes all life. Again, the ancients were able to seal it away. So That's crazy. Different people who look at the end see different things. Maybe Sonic's afraid of the moon. I don't know. It's weird that the end is this dark moon thing. But it makes you wonder if the eclipse cannon might have a fun effect. Yes.
Us, the viewer, were seeing.
Repeat it again.
Did Sonic see the moon, or did we, the viewer, see the moon?
Actually, I've never thought of that before, and that's a very valid thought. Yeah. I always assumed that because Sonic like he interfaces and just like beats that form of the moon that he would see it as well. But I actually like that. I like that thought a lot. And in fact, it's kind of fun to think that like maybe in the future we might see the end in like a totally different, like kind of benign form that we might not immediately know. Though I imagine the end is not so subtle. I imagine we'll probably see some really crazy stuff coming from it soon. So again, the end. It's an actual god. There are gods, right? Chaos is like kind of a god. The end is definitely a god. Okay. And if we're talking gods of Sonic, we were also talking about Solaris from Sonic 06. Again, I know it's like kind of out of the canon, kind of the timeline, which is actually fitting because Solaris is like time and space. But Solaris, extremely powerful god, took 3 hedgehogs, not 1. The end could be beaten with 1 hedgehog who had golden superpowers. Took 3 to beat Solaris, which is really quite incredible. And another god that is worth talking about is kind of split in 2. Dark Gaia and Light Gaia from Sonic Unleashed. These are gods of the earth. And actually, some of the oldest lore in Sonic is related to this sort of cycle of destruction with Dark Gaia and being reborn with Light Gaia. It's actually a really kind of beautiful and poetic sort of image. They look very different. Dark Gaia is like a crazy looking dragon. Light Gaia, when it interfaces with all the temples and Chaos Emeralds, is a big golem. Or Chip, right? You know, Chip, Light Gaia, always fun stuff. We love Chip. Make some noise for Chip. Make some noise for Chip. Yeah. He's a cutie. He's a cutie. All right. Second great civilization, though. The first great civilization were the ancients. There's 4 of them, okay? Second are the Gaians. We don't really know that much about them, frankly. We do have, it was cool that Dr. Tori a couple months ago talked about the Gaians, but frankly, we just know that they made the Gaia temples, which is a pretty cool feat in itself. The third great civilization, not confirmed, but I believe very strongly, based off, deductive reasoning, the Babylonians. Anyone here play Sonic Riders? Sonic Zero Gravity? Free Riders? I love this crowd. I love this crowd. Amazing. They are aliens. Ancient aliens. They were punished by the gods, which that's kind of interesting in itself. Which gods punished them for the crimes of stealing? Which kind of makes you think, I guess these are just like alien descendants, but I guess the Chow are too, so like whatever. It's all good. Good old Babylon rugs. So the fourth great civilization. So really quick, even this concept of the 4 great civilizations, that is thanks to this Dr. Gerald Robotnik's journal. He talks about the 4 great civilizations. The 4th great civilization made the Gizoids, who are crazy robots of mass destruction. They were a big part of Sonic Battle, or rather Emerald, the last one that we have seen. Now, the crazy thing about the 4th great civilization, which again, we know in canon made the Gizoids, the craziest thing about them is that there was a whole DS game called, Sonic Chronicles, The Dark Brotherhood. Make some noise? Question mark. It was fine. The music was not good at all, but it was okay. It was cool. The Nocturnus clan is a big part of that game's storyline. And the Nocturnus clan is straight up like, we're the 4th great civilization. We made the Gizoids. We did war with Knuckles' ancestors. They're not canon anymore. So, I don't know what to do with that information. My opinion is that the Knuckles tribe, which is actually what they're called. They're not just the Echidnas. They're the Knuckles tribe. Oh, yeah, go for it. Yes. Just speaking of it, or yeah.
So, since the Nocturnus clan no longer exists, do you think the 4th great civilization would have been like a different version of Longclaws?
That's a great question. Yeah. Longclaw again is really fascinating. As far as we know, there's no like game lore for or like canon lore for Longclaw, but yeah, you have a.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, man.
In terms of Longclaw, there is actually one small piece of lore that it's barely even talked about. But if you go back to like I think Sonic 1 in Labyrinth Zone, there are owl patterns on the wall.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a deep cut and I love it. Awesome. Yeah, so frankly, it's possible. I like that theory a lot because I kind of have a hard time thinking that like the Knuckles clan was the fourth great civilization. They seemed like not so technologically advanced, so I would have a hard time believing they made Gizoids. I'm just speculating that because like they did war with the Nocturnus clan. I don't know. But I like that idea. I would actually love to see a Long Claw tribe get maybe fleshed out and talked about, which is kind of cool. By the way, oh yeah? Did you guys hear that? The fact that the Knuckles tribe is called the Knuckles tribe could imply that Knuckles is not necessarily a name, but like a label for someone who's a part, like a guardian or like the embodiment of that tribe. I love that. By the way, if you're wondering why Sonic Chronicles is not canon anymore, we have this wonderful man to thank. Let's make some noise for Ken Penders. Yeah, he's I don't use this word lightly. He's sus. Okay, he's like, I thought about this before I knew what time I was doing this presentation. I thought about including some of his tweets. They're saucy. They're very saucy. Okay, and I probably could have, but anyway, Ken Penders, weird dude. He is, if you don't know, if you're not familiar with him, he was an Archie Sonic comic writer. He fleshed out a lot of like Knuckles lore in those comics, and that lore, he had a lawsuit basically alleging that like Sega was drawing upon that with Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood without compensating him. Whole crazy legal thing. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but look at that beautiful artwork he made. He's definitely an artist. It's really something. Ken Penders, great man. This right here is the Knuckles tribe. Who here can correctly pronounce the name of that middle man right there? Pick anybody. Pick anybody.
Pachama. Oh,
Pachacamac.
Amazing. Amazing. Well done. Well done. Again, probably not the fourth great civilization, but certainly important. Their whole thing was that Tikal's father, we talked about a little earlier, is that great chief. They just like wanted the Master Emerald for themselves. They got low diffed by Chaos, and they basically all died. So really, kind of like a morbid story if you think about it in the world of Sonic. But yeah, that's the deal there. So again, Gerald Robotnik's diary, amazing stuff right here. This is where we figured out about the four great civilizations. Again, I kind of made a joke about it earlier, but it was also not really a joke. Gerald Robotnik is like the lore mascot of the Sonic franchise. It's either the Chaos Emeralds or it's Gerald Robotnik. Like those are the two, sources of ancient beings or mystical powers or whatever. He's a brilliant man. And let's talk a little bit about his story because, again, within the past, I don't know, half a year or so, we've really gotten it fleshed out, which I think is really cool. So, Dr. Gerald Robotnik had two sons, okay? He is a brilliant archaeologist and roboticist. Between his two sons, each of them took on one of those roles, okay? So one of them became a great archaeologist. The other one became a great roboticist. And one of them, I would assume the archaeologist's son, had a daughter named Maria. And let me tell you, Maria is Dr. Gerald Robotnik's love of his life, okay? He loves his granddaughter more than anything in this world, okay? At one point, actually, do I have? Okay, I guess I don't. At one point, he does visit the Angel Island, and he gets inspired by the murals, and he takes in the Master Emerald, and it's not necessarily written out blatantly, but it's strongly implied that this mural of a hedgehog inspired perhaps the hedgehog form of Shadow, who he would later make. It's important to talk about. It's not confirmed, but it's very strongly implied. At one point, humanity, 50 years ago, again, this is in the past, decides to create the Space Colony Ark, which is more or less a vessel to promote human interests in the vastness of space. It's implied that it's like it's in space because there's no country to govern it. It's like, a neutral ground. And it's at least on the outside, it's presented as something very peaceful. Dr. Gerald Robotnik can work on research. And he wants to work on research really badly because the love of his life, Maria, gets diagnosed with NIDS. It's a neurological disease. There's no known cure for it. However, when they are in space, the effects of low gravity do seem to mitigate the effects a little bit. So Gerald convinces his son and that wife to send Maria up there with him in space. They're going to spend a lot of time together. And hopefully, the brilliant man that he is, even though he's juggling a lot of different projects, hopefully he can come up with a cure for his beloved granddaughter. And that's her right there, little cutie pie, holding just a lizard. Nothing important could come out of that lizard. No siree. Absolutely nothing there. But really cute in this way. Look, it's worth noting. Gerald Robotnik, at this time, is being pressured by two different entities, okay? There's the president of the United Federation, who's looking for a cure to immortality. We'll say it. Immortality in general. That's his MO. A peaceful thing to seek out. G.U.N. I mean, they're called G.U.N. They're not so peaceful. They're looking for military-grade weaponry. They know Gerald Robotnik's got the stuff to build it. And they start to pressure him because they're funding him and they're funding the Ark. So Project Shadow is essentially a way for Gerald Robotnik to appease the president, which is, of course, finding immortal life. And he's also, at the same time, trying to find a cure for his beloved granddaughter. And so he's testing all sorts of things. He's got a Chaos Emerald. He's, working with radiation. And this lizard is chosen because lizards in general are known for regeneration. They shed their skin. They're really durable. Unfortunately, who's your biohazard, right? Crazy fight, crazy stuff. Eventually morphs into this unwieldy beast. And they lock him away. They seal him away and lock him away in a deep part of the Space Colony Ark. And they keep him alive because they want to keep studying his biometrics. But, that could be a problem in the future. Hint, hint. Now, all of these issues are really interesting here because, to be frank with you, that bio lizard, as we just talked about, did not go very well. Okay? It was not this, there was no cure, no nothing. Gerald Robotnik is a brilliant man, but he's kind of at his wit's end. By sheer happenstance, a meteor passes by the Black Comet. Every 50 years, it circles the Earth. And in it, Black Doom is there. And he's like, deal with the devil time. Gerald Robotnik. Just a little hair, a little bit of my genes here. They got that secret sauce, okay? So here's what I need you to do. You can go make your little Project Shadow, whatever. It's all good. Make some lizards. Give them a little bit of that sauce, okay? It's all good. When I come back in 50 years, he's going to help me conquer the world. Gerald Robotnik's like, sure. Why not? And if you're wondering, sure, why not? He loves his granddaughter, okay? Maria, indirectly responsible for a lot of really sad things that will happen in the future. I bring up the president and the commander of G.U.N. Now, keep in mind, this is 50 years ago, so these are representations. These aren't the exact people. But again, remember, he's got 3 different people on him, right? We talked about the president. We talked about G.U.N. And now he's got Black Doom on him, okay? But Gerald's a smart man. Gerald is like, I can play them all for each other. Shadow the Hedgehog, Project Shadow, if I just make this being good, well, screw you, Black Doom. He's not going to work for you, G.U.N. And, maybe he can help come up with a cure for my granddaughter. Maybe we can solve immortal life, whatever. And I will say this. It's actually really clever because you might be wondering to yourself, why on earth would this man make the Eclipse Cannon? Raise your hand if you remember the Eclipse Cannon. Right? I mean, crazy stuff. Destroys part of the moon. Powerful laser. Gerald is trying to buy time because G.U.N. is on him. And G.U.N. is like, buddy, we're funding this. You better show us something good. He's a smart man. Gerald Robotnik is like, hey, I'm going to build you the weapon of mass destruction. You thought nukes were bad. We're talking about planetary destruction here. Have at it. And smart man that he is, he's like, you can't fire it. You'll destroy the world. I'm going to give you this ultimate weapon that you can't fire. I think it's really clever and really, really interesting. In the middle of all this, there's a Gizoid named, not named Emerald, but will one to be named Emerald. There's a whole thing where he's going crazy and rampaging, but whatever. We're just going to gloss over that because I hate to tell you, Dr. Gerald Robotnik starts to go crazy. Anyone know why? His beloved granddaughter Maria dies, and it was not a natural cause. G.U.N at a certain point is fed up. They send in a crew. They straight up raid the Ark. So unnecessary, but they raid the Ark. In all the violence, Maria is shot and killed. And Gerald is not having it. And I wish I showed you a little more of his journal, because he's this brilliant man, and you can start to see here that the cracks are growing, the slips are coming out, and eventually Dr. Gerald Robotnik, like a firing squad, shoots at him. He goes crazy, and he starts sabotaging Shadow, who, by the way, did have a great relationship with Maria, but he starts to like reprogram the mind a little bit of amnesia, ships him off, and he's like, awaken this if you want to say F you to the world, right? And 50 years later, Gerald, his grandson, Eggman, gets in there. But I have to say, too, the story is especially sad because in the middle of the love between a grandfather and his granddaughter, in the middle of all of this, there's the parents of Maria. They have a baby girl who is probably never going to really know her sister. And in fact, the two sons of Robotnik, of Gerald Robotnik, start to feud with each other. And there's all this animosity and family struggle and turmoil that goes down as a result of a brilliant man trying to do brilliant things. And if you really stop to think about it, it's kind of sad just how much love Maria got, because poor little Eggy, poor little Ivo Robotnik, all he ever wanted was to be noticed by his beloved senpai. That's all he ever wanted. And he got none of it, you know? He talks about it in his journal in Sonic Frontiers. He's like, I don't get it. I never met Maria, but like, I'm right here. I'm smart. You know, like, what's going on? I would even think, this is not canon or official, but I would, just using some critical thinking, I might even think that perhaps his uncle and his father maybe resented Eggman for being so smart, where it's like, I don't want to do anything, like, I'm not interested in another Gerald. I don't know. I'm kind of reading between the lines there, but it's a sad story. This is the Robotnik family tree. Let's just stop and like just ponder it for a second. It's crazy. Again, I'm gonna drink some water while you just take it in. Yeah, it's wild. Shadow's just like a cold-hearted killer. Like Shadow's actually like kind of wild. It's great. Yes, please take pictures, do whatever. Yeah, he's straight a killer. I will say it's not necessarily complete. I would argue that another one of Eggman's sons is Metal Sonic, my personal favorite. Can we get some love for Metal Sonic? My personal favorite Sonic character. Love him to death. I would argue that that's his son. And actually, again, not confirmed, but remember a little somebody named Dr. Victoria, otherwise known as Tori. Cute design. This baby sister of Maria is very intriguing. This journal from Gerald Robotnik, in the lore, it is solicited by someone named T. In Japanese, her name is Tori. And it makes you wonder, why would this incredibly smart archaeologist be so interested in the lore of Dr. Gerald, this baby sister? Now, I cannot tell you with any definitive certainty whether she'll be positive, negative. I kind of hope for a villainous human because, again, I feel like we've got a lot of... Eggman's just kind of the only villain, more or less. So I'd love a little more antagonism. She doesn't seem like it, though. She seems like a nice, well put together girl. But she's kind of got that look, you know. She could give you the death glare, right? Like I feel like Dr. Tori, there may be a darker side to her. But again, keep that in mind, folks. As far as I'm concerned, she is more or less Eggman's cousin. Crazy. Now, we spent a lot of time. I don't even know how much time we have left. I'm gonna quickly gloss through just the overall timeline of all these things. We've more or less gone through everything that's really important. And in fact, I would argue that most games, after a certain point, are just kind of chronological. There's like a few exceptions here and there. But you know, we've talked about the G.U.Ns and Sonic Unleashed. We've talked about the Ancients. We've talked about the Babylonians and Sonic Riders. We talked about Chaos, the God of Destruction. We've talked about the Knuckles tribe, which again, I really like that comment from earlier. It's making me think that actually, because they're not the Echidna tribe, there might just be other cool tribes, right? And obviously we saw it in the non-canon Nocturnus, but like, it makes you think. It's interesting. 2,000 years ago, the Black Arms, not as old as the Ancients, but still pretty old. That fourth great civilization, whoever they are, made the Gizoids. 50 years ago, all that lore with Dr. Gerald and all that good stuff. 10 years ago, again, you know, maybe we can make some noise. We can make some noise from Sonic 06. Yeah, we can. We can. We can. I heard some boost too. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Project 06 though. Check out Project 06. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. That's crazy. That's insane. And again, best Shadow. Not close. And now, as far as the classic games go, the only really interesting thing was whether or not Sonic CD was before or after Sonic 2. It made the most sense because that Sonic CD was first because there wasn't Tails in it. Tails is, you know, famously introduced in Sonic 2. There wasn't Tails, and even his sprite is Sonic 1. However, it is kind of weird that like Metal Sonic was made in Sonic CD. Eggman just goes for like Silver Sonic, and by the way, there's a lot of Metal Sonics. I that was probably worth its own slides, but it was weird that he went for these like kind of inferior versions. I don't know, maybe he didn't have the materials to recreate Metal Sonic, but this does make a lot of sense in my opinion. And of course, there's Mania and Superstars and all those great games. Sonic 4, that's any noise for Sonic 4? Yeah, fair. It's an interesting game, extremely interesting game. We talked about the Imaginary Stone with Shuffle. The Modern Era is really interesting stuff. Cream the Rabbit, any noise for Cream the Rabbit? Love Cream the Rabbit. How about Vanilla, her mom? How about Vector and Vanilla? I love this crowd. Amazing, amazing. Yes, yes. That is basically the only actual, I mean, I guess they're not official, but like, read those IDW comics if you haven't. Watch Adrenaline Dubs. You may be really impressed. Again, more or less the Modern Era at this point is chronological. Sonic X Shadow Generations is interesting because that was the most recent game, but like, that took place back in the Generations time. And I'm really curious going forward with Shadow because technically the Shadow we saw in Sonic Forces was a Shadow who went through some, you know, kind of closure with a character arc and was also a character who had crazy powers. Yes, over here. It's Shadow. How are you, Shadow?
I'm doing good. I had my hand up for a long time. I kind of wanted to bring up the Black Arms again, and so now it's kind of glossed over.
Yeah.
Is their actual reason why the Black Arms decided to invade Earth is so the Black Arms reproduce asexually, and from what I can remember, humans are actually pretty good food for them, and their larvae of death leeches have to eat in order to gain energy in order to metamorphosize into under different forms. And they basically decided that, well, humans are tearing up Earth. Why not just use them as, like, living, just start, like, take over and just start farming them.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's why at the end of the game, they released their paralytic gas and decided to just, like, eat everyone.
Yeah.
And they call it their for the entire game. They call it their prosperity ritual. It's like, oh, what's going? We're not gonna destroy everything. We're doing a prosperity ritual. And at the end of the game, it's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna eat everyone.
Thank you very much. I love that. And if I could just say, I know Black Doom like kind of died, but like I kind of don't think it's the end of Black Doom. And again, I hope that we see more Black Arms and more interesting antagonistic forces. Because again, I love Eggman, but like we could use a little more pizzazz every now and then. Great stuff. I absolutely love that. Yes, the Black Arms are super fascinating. Aliens in general in Sonic are extremely fascinating. I will say this. After Sonic Forces, there's a pretty big time gap between that and Sonic Frontiers. And that is because the IDW comic stories, at least up until now, maybe one day they'll move past it and go into, you know, post-Frontiers territory. But that is, yeah, that is an amazing storyline, which is just about done. The IDW comics, again, if you haven't seen them, there's a lot of cool canon characters. Dr. Starline, there's really Surge and Kits. Can we make some noise for Surge and Kits? Awesome duo. We've seen them in the mobile games as like kind of gotcha characters, but like hope we get to see a lot more of them in general. And yeah, I just want to say, folks, like this has been incredible. I'm just gonna just zoom all the way to the end. I don't have time for your lore questions, but feel free to reach out to me afterward. I love talking shop with Sonic. I've got a little QR code. I do make YouTube content. Right now, I've been obsessed with a game called Blueprints. My friend made it. It's really great. Does anyone know it? Wait, do you actually know Blueprints? I kid you not, my friend made that like 8 years ago. I'm not even worked on it 8 years ago, and that's his game. It's crazy. So I love Blueprints. I love Mega Man and Sonic. They're all blue. So check it out if you're interested. Again, thank you so much, everybody. Can we get some noise for the audience? It's past midnight. You gave me so much energy. Thank you so much for being here. I'd love to sit and chat with all of you. Thank you. Actually, hold up. Wait, before you leave, I'm gonna take a little selfie with everybody. Gotta do it. And again, make some noise, please. It's past midnight. You guys were incredible. Love Sonic the Hedgehog. Don't ever stop loving it. It is a great time to be a fan. We've gone through some dark times, right? It is a great time to be a fan. It's only gonna get better. And yeah, thank you very much, everybody. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.